Okay, so today we are going to start with the second last topic of your development, and that is the visual force program. Now, what does it mean by a visual force program? See, the visual force programming, uh, this actually, it actually is used to create the customized kind of user interfaces. What does it mean by the customized user interfaces? So, whenever we are interacting with the any of the object of the Salesforce. Now, let me first of all log in into the R. So, if I ask you what is the importance of having a user interface? What is the importance of having a user interface? Then you would probably, give me the answer that whenever we wanted to interact with any of the object, any of the Salesforce object. For example, I wanted to insert a new record. I require a user interface. This is my user interface. What is the user interface? The user interface is actually that canvas where you could see the number of the fields along with some of the control buttons. So whenever you are either inserting a new or you are trying to make some changes in the existing record, then also you require the user interfaces. We also have learned this. Mostly there are two different types of page layouts. The detailed layout, right now what you are seeing is the detailed layout, and then edit layout. These are what? These are the kinds of the two layouts that we usually have. So what is the purpose of having a user interface? Whenever we wanted to interact with the user, that the user should, user should be able to either insert a new record and make existing, make some changes in the existing record, and then also, or he wanted he wanted to delete a record, he wanted to update a record, whatever he wanted to do, he required a user interface. Again, so this is what a small introduction about the user interfaces and everything. So this we could consider this as a front end part, although there is no such terminology in the Salesforce where we deal with the front end and the back end. There is nothing like this. There's nothing like this. But let's consider this is what we say. This one is a front end part, and whatever going behind this, we call this as to be the back end. Okay. So I could here tell you that your Visual Force programming actually is used to develop the front end part, the kind of customized user interfaces. See, there, what you see over here, this is something I could say that this is a default kind of front end. And there are few of the drawbacks also. The first, we could arrange the fields maximum in the two columns, not more than that. Here onto this user interface, I could see that the fields have been arranged in the first column. This is my first column. This is my second column. But then I cannot arrange the fields in the three column. I cannot arrange the fields in more than two columns. That is also one of the drawbacks. But then Visual Force programming, you can do it. With the Visual Force programming, we could decide onto a single page how many columns of the field we could create that we could decide with the Visual Force program. Then we cannot change the colors of this backend. This page is white. We cannot make it to be look a little bit yellow or orange. Or we cannot customize the backend colors. We cannot customize the fonts of this. We cannot make something as a bold, something as faint, whatever. We cannot do any such customization related to font, color, size, styles, because this is what you are using. This is a standard user interface. This one, what you are using, this one, and this edit layout and detail layout, whatever you are using over here. These are something the standard user interface. So in the standard user interface, first of all, you can maximum arrange the fields in two columns. Then you cannot change the backgrounds. You cannot change the background colors. You cannot change the font colors. You cannot change the style. You cannot apply any CSS over here. Any kind of cascade style sheet जिसको बोलते हैं HTML. You cannot apply it over here. This is something called as standard user interface. So that's the reason we go with visualforce programming. We cannot customize the tab's home page. We cannot customize the if you go to any of the home tab, for example, if you click on the position, here you are landed. What is this? It's position home tab. If you click on the hiring manager, you initially landed on the home tab of the hiring manager. Here you cannot make any modification to the tab home page of every, if, even if you go with the accounts, let's say you are going to land it up. What you see, first of all, the icons and the name, and then recent account, report section, tool sections. These are some of the sections, or on every home page you see this. You cannot customize this, you cannot customize this. That after clicking the tab, what you are seeing, this is something called as tabs home page. We don't have any facility that we could customize this home tab. If you click from here and if you try to edit this, there's nothing called as edit layout. There's only edit application edit app, but then there's nothing called as which you can edit this particular page. So this is something called as tabs home page. So with the declarative customization, with the non-programming, there's nothing that we could customize any of the home page of any of the tab. And these are some of the limitations. These are some of the limitations. To overcome other limitations, we need to use a front-end programming, a visualforce program. That is what. Then there is lots more theory I have written why exactly we should go with the visualforce program. So you just guys require to go with all this theory. You just require to go with all this theory so that you will have a brief idea about what exactly is the visualforce and how whenever we create a page, every page is being compiled something. Here there is no concept of Apex runtime. This could all they could also sometime they could ask this in the interview, like your code, whatever the code you create. Now whatever the code you created, this one is a code. Every code is being compiled with Apex runtime engine. But then whatever for the visualforce programming we create, it's not being compiled with the runtime engine. Actually, there is something called as page compiler. There's something called as page compiler, and it also work as your Apex runtime engine. This is also executes. This is also executes your page in the runtime. So there are basically to compile whatever the visualforce page you have created. Now to make a compile code, there are two things actually that are involved. First one is a page compiler. The page compiler will compile whatever you have written, and then the page is being executed by there is a runtime engine called as page renderer. There are two things that are involved over here. There are two things that are involved over. First is your page compiler and page renderer. You will going to understand how, and gradually you will be understanding what exactly is it. Okay. So please go with this whole theory, whatever has been written. Whatever has been written, just go with this. Let me describe how does the page actually looks like to be. So the visualforce page, it mainly have two components. If you are designing a visualforce page, it mainly have two components. The first one is the page itself. First one is the page itself. The first one is the page itself. So we call this as to be what? Markup. Page को markup. If you don't want to call it markup, there is no problem. There is no problem. Again, there is no problem. You wanted to call this as visualforce page. Again, you are absolutely true. There is no problem. There is no problem in calling markup or page. Markup or page. So there are two things. Whenever we are designing a page, there are two things. First, the page itself. First, the page itself. And there are certain tags for that, like Apex, page, form, section headers. These all are the tags. You will be learning, gradually you will be learning. Actually, your visualforce programming is a tag-based programming, like your HTML. Like your HTML, we have created few of the codes. We have created, for example, if I go to 201 batch and see web to lead. This is one of the code that we have generated. This one is what? This is an HTML code. So like your HTML, the visualforce programming is also tag-based programming. HTML is also tag-based programming. And for example, you have opened this option tag, then option, and by option, that is close option. Okay, label by label. If you open a tag called as label, there are two types of tag. Tag itself have two types. The first one is block tag. The second one is inline tag. I mean, those who have learned the HTML, they know this. If you don't know this, if you are learning this for the first time, no problem. HTML have two different types of tag. HTML have two different types of tag. HTML have two different types of tag. First one is inline tag. The second one is block tag. Block tag. Now, what is the inline tag? That doesn't require a closing tag. That doesn't require a closing tag. Now, for example, if I go with the break tags, if I go with the break tag, see break. The break tag doesn't require a closing. Break tag doesn't require a closing. You just write down BR. That's it. Or sometimes it has been written like this also. BR. That is also true. BR have two different forms. Slash BR or just BR. Okay. HTML5 and HTML6. But that won't make any difference to the browser. Browser will going to compile both of them. So HTML have two different types of tags. HTML have two different types of tags. There are certain tags that doesn't require any closing. That means if you open a tag, you don't require to close it. Like your break tag. Example is your break tag. Certainly there are more tags also. When I just require to write down like this. The break tag doesn't require another closing tag. This is inline tag. Now block tag. Second tag is block. Block tags are those kinds of tag. If you open that tag, you also require to close it. If you won't close it, that particular tag, HTML, the beauty of HTML is like it won't throw any error because there is no compiler. There is no compiler for HTML. There is no compiler. HTML is being, HTML overall is executed with your browser only. So there is no such, there is no such error throwing mechanism in the browser. And that is what the advantage when if you code a certain kind of wrong thing also, it's not going to throw you any error. That is what one of the advantage while you are coding for the HTML. So there are two types of tag. The first one is inline tag. Inline tags are those tags that doesn't require any closing. But the second category is the block tag. Block is a kind of tag. If you open it, like example, option is a tag. If you open it, you close it, so it also required to close it like this. These are some of the the kinds of tags. So your HTML is a tag based language. Now, in the same way, your visualforce also is a tag based language. But in the visualforce, there is no concept of inline tag. In the visualforce, there is no concept of inline tag. Whatever the tag we will use here, every tag by default is a block tag. If you open a tag, you need to close it down. You open a tag, you need to close it down. That is what. And there are certain things written over here that visualforce supports all of the standard web technologies. For example, you can mix up HTML with the visualforce. You can mix up DHTML with the visualforce. Along with your visualforce page code, you can insert HTML, DHTML, CSS, JavaScript, Java query, jQuery, JavaScript, double हो गया शायद, and Angular, React, Node, Knockout, extension, whatever. Any kind of scripting, XML, HTML, whatever. The visualforce is a kind of a language. It's also a language. So what kind of language? A web technology language. And it supports every kind of scripting. You can mix up the code. You can easily insert HTML along with your visualforce page code. So that actually makes the visualforce page as a versatile instrument. Versatile instrument to make the front ends in the Salesforce part. Now this is something which is replaced by the Lightning. Visualforce page was the something that is being replaced by the Lightning. Lightning actually is far more advanced. Lightning is far more advanced. And what exactly Lightning is replacing? Lightning is replacing that front end user interface part. Whatever you used to develop with the Visualforce. Now we used to develop the same thing with the Lightning. So Lightning actually provides a better view, a kind of a more attractive user interface, more attractive, more advanced user interface. Okay, but that is the step number 2. If you don't know step number 1, how can you go to step number 2? Okay. So, chalo, okay, that's a different story. That's a different part of discussion. Right now, what we are learning, Visual Force. So, Visual Force programming mainly consists of two things. The first one is page itself. The first one is the page. You could tell the entire front end part. When you design it, you require a page, and that page is something called the first part markup. Now, along with your page, if you wanted to insert certain business logic, you wanted to write down certain Apex code, you wanted to write down certain classes, you wanted to implement certain kind of scripting, that business logic, where does it goes? Then something comes up in the mind, and that is Visual Force controller. Visual Force controller. So Visual Force page consists of two things. First one is a static page, front end, and the coding part that is running behind that front end. For example, let me just draw this diagram. Okay, I designed this page, and here I am asking, please enter your name. Okay, please enter your name. And to capture this, there is a field. There's a field like this. To capture this, there's a field. I'm asking the user enter mobile number. Okay, enter mobile number. This is my front end part. See what I'm developing. This is my front end part. And to capture this, I'm having another text field. And then I'm having two buttons over here. I'm having two buttons over here. First, submit, and the second one probably cancel like this. The second one is cancel. Now this is my front end part. Understand one thing. This is my front end part. Now, what I want, if whenever someone enters a name and the mobile number and hit this button, so whatever you have entered from here, these entities must be captured to some place. I could define the variables and everything, whatever. There must be a mechanism which is working behind this page. Okay, whenever you enter the name, whenever the user with this user interface, whatever the user entered over here and entered over here, these two text fields, I need to capture those information. And based on that information, I need to perform certain different types of processing. So this is my business logic. That will work behind this page. So this is your front end part. We call this front end part as what? Page. या फिर इसको markup बोलते हैं. And this back end part which actually serves as a business logic, कि if you cancel तो ये दोनों clear हो जाने को ना. If you press the submit तो ये दोनों कहीं आगे store होना चाहिए. कहाँ store होना चाहिए? But different thing. So that business logic part, this is something called as controller. So in this way, the Visual Force page consists of two things. First one is the front end part, the page itself, the markup, and the second is controller. So controller, there are three types: standard, custom, extension. gradually, we will be starting everything. So because now the terminology has been introduced, you must know this. There are three types of controllers: standard, custom, and the extension. So gradually we will be learning what is there into the standard controller, what is there into the custom controller, and then what is there in the extension. Okay, that's it. We will start. Now, first of all, I am starting with the markup. How to design a page? What are the different types of tags? And see, Visual Force is not that big topic. HTML could be a big topic. Visual Force is not. Why? Because it have only limited number of tags. Very limited number of tags. It is not that much of the big program. It's a very simple thing. I'm telling you this. Okay. So let's understand how to design a page. When we are designing a page, we will obviously using tags. Whenever we are designing a page, we will be obviously using the tag. Now in the Visual Force, there is a hierarchy. There's a hierarchy of the tag. In the visual force, there's a hierarchy of the tag. It's actually there into HTML also. It's there into the HTML also. When you write down the HTML, when you write down the HTML, then there is also, that time also there is like, that time also there is a certain hierarchy. Let me try to show you that. See, HTML also have this. So when you start writing the HTML, so it started with HTML and it end on the HTML. Inside this we have head. It's a block tag, so it's a closing and this is opening and this is closing. After head, it should come the body. Body cannot come before head. Head should be the first tag. Body should be the second tag. Inside the body again you could have div and whatever you wanted. Whatever you wanted. So that everything. So even in the HTML also, HTML is also tag-based language. Your Visual Force page is also tag-based language. So whenever we are dealing with the tag-based language, certainly there are certain hierarchies of the tag. We need to see that. So every Visual Force page, it always starts with page tag. Apex colon page. This is the default way. This is the default way. How to write down the tags. How to write down the tags? You need to first of all write down apex and then the tag name. Apex and then the tag name. Tag name must always be followed with apex. There is a separator, colon, and then tag name. This is the way to write down the code. So every Visual Force page should always start like this. Apex page. The page is the first tag, and page is the last tag also. When you close it, it comes at the end. After that, section headers. Apex section header. Apex form. Section headers, forms, form tag. In the form, we used to have page block. Within the page block, we have page block buttons, page block sections, everything. So you will be gradually learning this. इसको याद करने की जरूरत नहीं है. There is no meaning. I'm telling you. You just require, और ये हो जाए अपने आप ही याद होगा आपको. Don't worry about this. Just don't worry about this. ठीक है. बस ये एक हायरार्की एक जगह लिखी हुई है. If you wanted, just take a print out of this and कहीं तो भी इसको paste कर दो. That's it. इसको याद करने की इसलिए जरूरत नहीं है कि ऑटोमेटिकली आ जाता है. एंड इफ आई एम टेलिंग यू कि ऑटोमेटिकली आ जाता है मतलब आ जाए, फिक्र मत. This diagram just indicates that there is a default hierarchy. There's a default hierarchy of writing the tags. तो अगर section header is coming below page, this tag cannot come above the page. If form tag is coming after section header, form tag could not appear above the section header. If the page block is coming inside form, it cannot come above the form, above the section header. That is what a default hierarchy. तो ये थोड़ा सा बस को समझना है. We just require to see this. Just have a look on this. But there is no need to make this, there's no need to like आपको याद करने की आवश्यकता नहीं है. ये हो जाता है, अपने आप हो जाता है. Don't worry. You will be learning this whole thing. You will be learning this whole thing. Okay, the page block tag is a child component. It's a child component to Apex form. Page block buttons, including command buttons and the links and everything, they are the child component to page blocks. Page block section is also one of the child component to page block. Page block itself is a child component to the section header or to the forms. ये सब हो जाएगा, don't worry. ये सब हो जाएगा. ये अपना ट्रैक जब अपन स्टार्ट करेंगे ना, when we start writing this, तो ये अपने आप हो जाता है. ये अपने आप हो जाता है. So don't worry. ठीक है. Now, how to create a visual force page? There are so many different ways. By using, like there are three ways. By using the standard navigation. Let me show you. By using the standard navigation. So let's go to the setup menu. Go to the build menu, develop. What do you want to create? I wanted to create a visual force page. So come to this lightning component part. Expanding the develop. After expanding the develop, this is the first section. Second section is the event. Third section is lightning component. You will be seeing the visual force page around over here as an option. So click on it. Click on it. These are some of the default pages. We haven't created anything. These are some of the default pages, standard pages. Click on this new button. Click on this new button, and then it will open an interface where you could write down. No, you need to give the label name and you need to save it. So here if you see, by default, this editor has come up, and there's a tag apex page, and for this apex page, this is the closing tag. Whatever you are writing, you are going to writing it over here. Whatever you will be writing, you will be writing it over here. Between this, this is the first way. This is the first way to create a visual force page. And see over here, what is it written? Markup. Why markup? This is the play. What you are building a page. That's why it's called as markup. This is the first way, standard navigation. Second, by using a developer console. Okay. Let me show you the second method also. So let's go to the developer console. And then click on the new button. Go to the file menu, by the way. Go to the file menu. Click the new. What do you want? I wanted to develop a page. What page? Visual force page. Give a name. Give a name to this. Sample VF page number 1. So, apex page, apex closing page. Here you could develop a page. This is also one of the technique. This is also one of the technique to develop the visual force page. And if you even create a page, for example, hi, example H1. Okay, ready. Hi, this is my first VF page. And I save it. And there's a button called as preview. Just make a preview button. Just click on this preview button. This page is going to be get loaded. This page is going to be get loaded. See, it takes some time because this was getting compiled. Hi, this is my first VF page. Hi, this is my first VF page. So this is also one of the way. And H1 is, by the way, an HTML tag. H1 is an HTML tag. But I told you one thing, that you could write down HTML, DHTML, XML, everything, JavaScript, Java query, everything you could write inside this. Why? Because Salesforce Visual Force page is fully supporting everything, every scripting language. So this is the second. But then what is the drawback over here? Drawback is you write the code in a separate window. And if you wanted to see the preview, you need to go to this. For that means every time whenever you make any changes, over here, you need to save it and then click on the preview button, and then you come to this button. That means you are actually being shifted from one browser window to the another browser. That is what a drop. And so I will not teaching you. I will be not telling you to create the visual force page from here. This also have same drawback. That means I'm not going to tell you to create the visual force page from this standard navigation. Neither I will be telling you this. In most of the classes, they used to teach the visual force, creating the visual face page from here. I've seen this personally in most of the videos. They will teach this. Some of them teach to create the page from here, from the standard navigation into this editor. But most of the people, when they are teaching this, how to create a visual force page, they will take up you to the developer console, and onto this you will create a page, and then you save it and click on the preview. You are going to be shifted over here, and then you will be seeing down. I'll telling you one third way. एक तीसरा तरीका और है, the most convenient way, और जो बहुत ही कम लोगों को पता है, तो हम वो टेक्निक फॉलो करें. There's one another way, and that is the URL format. ये बहुत ही कम लोगों को पता है. Only few people knows this. I have seen so many videos during my training. Most of them they are using developer console. Most of them. 70 to 80% of the people, whenever they are working on the Visual Force page, they are using this. They go to the developer console and from here they click and they create a new Visual Force page from here, and then they start coding it. They compile it from here, and to see the output they come to this window. But I am telling you, one of the technique only few people knows this. Only few people knows this. And in the interview, if they ask you, have you worked on Visual Force page? You will go to say yes. Yes, I have worked. How you have created a Visual Force page? Then don't tell them with the standard navigation or with the developer console, because they know that most of the people have done this. From people used to create the page either from the standard navigation or from the developer console. If they ask you in the interview how you have created a Visual Force page, you need to tell them, I created a Visual Force page by using URL technique. URL. By using a URL technique, I have created the Visual Force page. Let me show you what is this technique. But before applying to this technique, we need to make a small changes in your settings. We need to make a small changes in your organization setting. I'm expanding this. I'm going with my settings. My settings. Go to the personal. Go to advanced user details. Advanced user details. Edit this. Edit this. This everything is being recording, so there's no problem. You know, if you have missed up something, you can go back and see the recording. Edit it, and then there's something called as development mode. You need to on it. यहाँ पर अभी ये checked है पहले से. If it is checked for your organization, it's a good thing. If it is not, if it was like this, you need to exceptionally click on this development mode. You need to make this as in it. You need to make this as in it. Development. Okay. After enabling this, after checking this, just go and save it. Just go and save. Now, what is the advantage? What is the advantage? Okay. Now I'm telling you another way to create a Visual Force page. Now I'm telling you another way to create a Visual Force page. See this. Just click on any of the object, account, case, contact. Just click on any of the object. You observe the URL, it comes up with the object ID and a 500 object. I click on the account, it comes 001. I click on the leads at 002. And now, what you need to do? What you need to do? Put your cursor at the end of this URL. Delete, 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 delete. Up to this. Up to this. Now write down one thing over here. Apex slash first my first VF page. You know what I'm doing? I'm actually asking ये वाला पेज लोड करो. I'm asking this URL. I'm telling this URL कि ये वाला पेज मेरे को लोड करके. Slash apex मतलब Visual Force page. All of the Visual Force page, they are resided into one of the directory called as apex. So from this directory, from this folder of the apex, मुझे ये वाला पेज ढूंढ के लाके दो. My first VF page. And as soon as I enter it, as soon as I press the enter, ये locate ये ढूंढेगा. ढूंढने के बाद में मुझे एक error देगा. I don't find any such page. There is no page in the apex directory with this name. My page, my first VF page does not exist. ऐसा तो कोई पेज है ही नहीं मेरे पास. But then there is a small link over here. There is a small link over here. Create. If this page is not there, there is a small link over here. Create एक page. कौन सा page? My first VF page with the same name. So with the same name, Apex is providing this facility to create this page. Just click on this link. Just click on this link and see what happens. See what happens. your page, one second please. Yes. तो अभी क्या हुआ basically? Your window has been partitionized in two different things. Upper part is your output, and if you see over here, there is a tag, and then this. You click on this, your page is going to be get loaded. Okay? You click on this, your page is going to be get loaded. Let me try to show you. Mm, some, the entire code of this page is over here. This. Let me close this. Let me do this setting once again. My settings. Go to the personals. Advanced user details. Edit. What happened? Edit. Once again, let me edit the development mode. Once again, let me edit it and save it. Now let's come back to this page. Refresh it. Yes. This actually clears the buffers and everything. Sometimes due to of the cache memory of your browser, this thing happens. So abhi dekho. This is my coding. This is my coding and this is my output. Now they are present into same window. They are present into the same window. If I make any changes over here, if you make any changes over here, if you make any changes over here, if you make, let me remove this comment, and let me write down over here. Congratulations, I learned how to create the visualforce page. Okay. Now, as soon as you save it, either you can, click on this icon, control, or what the shortcut, control S. See, the shortcut is control S. As soon as you save it, ये चक्री घूमेगी, and then you will be immediately you will be learning see the output over here. Okay. Give a break tag. Give a break tag over. Give a break tag. Just give a break tag. Okay. This is my first visual force page. This is my first visual force page. This is my first visual force page. Save it. Save it. Okay. It doesn't supporting this format. Let me like this. Break tag. Now save it. Okay. So you save the code over here and you will going to see the output. Real time output. This is what the benefit of this technique. This is what the benefit of this technique. So बहुत कम ही लोग हैं जिनको ये टेक्निक पता है. And we will be following this technique, something called as URL technique. This is something called as URL technique. So what happens in the URL technique, your page is going to be get divided, but for that you need to make this development mode. You need to enable the development. इसको enable करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, वो कर लो. If ये जैसा अभी प्रॉब्लम गया था मेरे को, तो ठीक है, उसको फिर एक बार क्या करने का, इसको यहाँ से क्लोज कर देने का. If you close this, अगर आप ये डिसेबल देखो यहाँ पे, if you disable the development, अगर बाय द वे ऐसा हो रहा है तो एक बार डिसेबल करके फिर जाने का, फिर से इसको इनेबल करना. एंड सेकंड टाइम व्हेन यू कम ओवर हियर यू विल बी सीइंग दिस. सो दिस इज समथिंग कॉल्ड एज अ URL technique of developing the visual force pages. And this what you have saved, अब my first page के नाम से save हो चुका है ये. If you wanted to see, go to this visual force page once again, click on the list my first VF page. See, this is the page. So as soon as you save it over here, one page is going to be get created, and your code is there into this page. This technique is called as URL technique. Mostly people doesn't know this. I'm telling you this. 70% of the people they are creating a visual force page from developer console. Rest 30 to 20% or 10% is use the standard navigation. Usually people don't do it. 80% of the people they use developer console. Only there are few people those who know this technique, the URL format. There's a third technique. Only few people know this. But then what is the advantage? What is the advantage with this? You write the code and you see the output. You write the code from here, see the output over here in the real time. As soon as you save it, and in the errors also, if you done any mistake, you save the code. See, three partitions. Now there are three partitions. This partition now is listed on the error. आपके error दिखा रहा है, error बता रहा है, ठीक है? Like this also. So everything that happens in the real time. ये this is what the benefit of URL technique. और ये technique ना बहुत ही कम लोग, तो हम इस टेक्निक को हम लोग फॉलो करेंगे, एंड देन वी विल बी क्रिएटिंग हाउ टू डेवलप द फीचर फोर्स पेज इन एवरीथिंग, ठीक है? Although I'm giving you one assignment by today, although this needs to be taken in the class, but then because this is a theoretical concept, ठीक है? Please go with this topic, tag properties. Please go with this. Just learn this, and whatever the theory I have written, over here, this also. So today, not just not with the assignment, not as an assignment, but please learn this tag properties. जैसे something as good as, जैसे मैंने आपको, if you remember in the beginning, जब हम काफी शुरुआत में थे, है ना, काफी शुरू की बात है, तो I told you to learn one thing. मैंने आपको कहा था ये पढ़ लो. This I told to everybody कि डेटा टाइप्स की ये इतनी चीजें पढ़ लो. ये मैंने आपसे कहा था कि आप खुद होके पढ़ो. टेक्स्ट एरिया लॉन्ग, टेक्स्ट एरिया रिच, ईमेल, प्रॉपर्टीज, है ना, हर डेटा टाइप का प्रॉपर्टीज मैंने आपको कहा था, याद अगर आपको आ रहा होगा. तो इसको यूज करना मैंने सिखा दिया आपको, हाउ टू यूज दैट फॉर्मेट्स. लेकिन ये मैंने पढ़ाया नहीं था आपको. आई टोल्ड यू कि यार ये सब पढ़ लो, ये सब प्लीज पढ़ लो, ये अपने से पढ़ लो. तो इन द सेम वे नाउ आई एम टेलिंग यू, कि ये जो टैग प्रॉपर्टीज है ना, इसको पढ़ लो. कल इसको आप, मतलब आज रात में आप सभी लोग इसको पढ़ के रहो कि व्हाट इज द प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ पेज टैग, सेटअप, साइड बार, वॉल्यूम्स वगैरह जो भी है. और कल मैं इस पे ना प्रैक्टिकल लूंगा, प्रैक्टिकली लूंगा. मतलब एक एक प्रॉपर्टी लेते जाऊंगा, बस बताता जाऊंगा, एक एक प्रॉपर्टी लूंगा, बताता जाऊंगा. बाकी इसकी जो थियरी है वो प्लीज आज जरा सभी लोग बैठ के कंप्लीट करो अपने से. तो कल मैं इसको लाइव एग्जांपल ले लेके, एक एक एग्जांपल ले लेके, एक एक टैग आपको समझाता चला जाऊंगा. So what happens when you make the page in the page proper in the page tag, if you make this setup as boolean, true or false, sidebar as true or false, show header as true or false, so what happens? So this I am going to show you, practically. बस एक बार आप पढ़ लो इसको सभी लोग, ठीक है? चलो, तो कल जो है यहाँ से स्टार्ट करते हैं, एंड वी विल बी फॉलोइंग यूआरएल टेक्निक फॉर दिस. हमेशा यूआरएल ही लेंगे. लेट मी स्टार्ट.